Hey guys, welcome back to Sip and Dip with Chelsea. Today's video is going to be another episode in my do's and don'ts series. We're going to cover the very frustrating topic of lumpy, ridged, or even just too thick dip powder nails. So I want to share some tips and tricks on how I keep my manicure still looking thin and natural. So big shout out and thank you to Dip Nailed It. She is today's video sponsor, and she also gave y'all an exclusive code for 25% off on your first order at her shop. It is not an affiliate, just savings, and I thought that was so generous and sweet. So here's a peek at the colors that I'm using during today's video. This is Pink Taffy Glow, Peach Glow, and Grape Glow. And as the name suggests, they do all glow beautifully in the dark. This was another trio that I was torn between using today. It is Festival of Lights, World of Metal, and Orange is the New Black. I love these three together. Something about this gold and this silver and this copper, it pairs so beautifully, and I felt like it was so unique. So this is the glitter that stole my heart the moment I saw it on her website. It is called Cookie Dough. I am obsessed with this glitter. It has little gold hearts, flowers, copper polka dots. I love this solid brown that it's in. So here are the pairing possibilities that I chose. I have burnt copper and then cream of what? It is the most beautiful shimmer right here. And then I also grabbed black. I felt like it was such a versatile glitter. You could really go with browns or creams or even go really dark with black, but the pairing possibilities are endless. I love this glitter and I will absolutely be using it for fall. So here is a look at her dip powder liquid set. They're in really nice, durable, heavy-duty glass bottles. I love that she has the instructions on them. Y'all know I am a sucker for that. I think it's such a nice little detailed touch. I love the packaging on it. It's very nice and clean, and it's nice that you can see through the glass to see how much liquid you have left in your bottles. So let's dive right into tip number 1. So the first thing I like to do is give the dip powder a stir. So I grab a toothpick and stir the powder. This makes sure it is nice and fluffy, it's not dense, and it makes the pigment consistent throughout. So my next tip is about liquid control. So controlling the amount of product on your brush bristles and also controlling where it goes on your nail. So in order to get those nice, thin, natural layers of dip powder, I like to remove as much product off of the brush as possible. You'll see me wipe it off on one side, and then I want you to notice that's still a lot of product on there. So I'm gonna go back in and remove even more, and this is just how much I like to use. It is very, very little, not a whole lot at all on my brush. So I have both of my hands resting on the desk, and I'm going to start my brush right here. The most liquid on my brush is right now, so I don't want to start that right at my cuticle area. So by starting the bulk here and guiding what I want back towards the cuticle area, this prevents it getting too thick at my cuticle area. It also helps me to maneuver it in a nice, even way so that I don't have too much excess liquid in any one spot. You'll see me grab from the center here and drag it over to my sidewall area, and I'm just making sure it's even. So tip number 3 is going to be pouring the dip powder over top. So I'm just pouring over top of a cupcake liner. This is a great method to try because it gives such a natural thin layer, but it also helps if you are experiencing that rippling or lumpy looking effect when you are dipping into the powder. So repeating the same steps, I'm just removing as much product off of my brush as possible. You can see here I have just a little bit, and then I guide it back towards my cuticle area. Same exact steps, same process, making sure I have just a little bit of liquid on my nail and an even coating of it. Then I pour the dip powder over top, making sure I get all the way over to those sidewall areas and everything is nice and covered. So tip number 4 is going to be about how we angle the jar when we do dip into it. So I want to show you guys here, I actually pick the jar up and angle it towards my nail when I dip in. I don't just dip straight into it. It helps so that it doesn't push the liquid back and create that ridged effect. So now that we have great control over our liquid amount and where it's at on our nail, it is safe to go ahead and try to dip into the jar. But if you're still struggling with having that rippling, absolutely give the pour over method a try. I want to show you guys what happens when we don't remove enough liquid on our brush. So you can see here, look at how much product I have on there. And I'm just going to sporadically apply it to the nail and then dip in. You're going to see immediately that big ripple effect here on the side. And do you see how it's still wet? That tells me I have too much product on my swatch stick. And you can also see that it pushed that product up. So I'm going to dip in again so you can see it a little bit better with the powder covering it. So sometimes despite our best efforts, it just happens, whether that be you're using a thicker liquid consistency or the powder is just really, really dense. And the best way to prevent that is, like I mentioned, is removing as much product as you can. And if you feel that you are doing that and it's still happening, absolutely give the pour over method a try. Now I'm going to start on Peach Glow, and I am obsessed with this shade. I love all these three together, and you guys, the way this brush bristle just fans so beautifully, and it is so easy to use. If I could change all of my brushes to this type of rounded brush bristle, I would in a heartbeat. I love this type of brush. It makes application such a breeze. So speaking of brushes, tip number 5 is going to be about stiff scrub brushes. So I love using stiff scrub brushes to remove excess powder because it really does help create thinner, more natural looking layers, but it also helps with contamination. So what can happen sometimes is if you use a fluffy brush to dust off that excess powder, it actually leaves behind a lot of powder on your nail. Then when you go in for that second layer with your base liquid, you could be putting that excess powder into your bottle, which can cause them to get thick and goopy. So now it's time for layer number 2, and I'm gonna speed through all of this because I'm following the same steps, removing as much product on my brush as possible. And then I'm gonna show y'all, now that we have our liquid control, it is okay to dip into the powder. I love the coverage of her products. This shade is just so beautiful after 2 dips. It's like a muted purple. And here is a side shot of just how thin they still are after 2 layers. I would love to hear if you guys have gotten to try any products that have a rounded brush like this. For dip powder liquids or gel liquids, it honestly is such a game changer, and it will spoil you rotten when you try them because it makes application such a breeze and fitting into that cuticle area. I love a rounded brush. I also want to share something with you guys about today's video sponsor, Dip Nailed It. She has a thing called Dip for a Cause, and it honestly, it just hits my heart. She donates 10% of her profits to different causes, and one of them is the Wounded Warrior Project. And as a military spouse, y'all know that hits home for me. So I thought that was so special, and the colors are beautiful, but this is something that she does ongoing where she just goes and creates different dip powder collections that she can donate to different causes. And I thought that spoke volumes about her as a business owner, and I just wanted to share that with y'all. 2 of her daughters are also in the military, so it definitely hits home for her too. So we are all done with our colors. We're going to be using clear. So hers is called Invisible. I'm going to do another thin layer of liquid on top and then dip into the clear dip powder. So this clear dip powder is going to protect those beautiful colors when I go to file and shape. So what I thought was interesting about her dip powder liquids were that it was a thin consistency for this base, but it was a faster dry time. And I kind of appreciate that because as you can see, I'm just doing a really simple manicure. So it was a breeze. I didn't have to wait. I didn't have to keep re-dipping into the powder. And I was able to get it done in like 30 minutes. Once they dry, I'm going to use my stiff scrub brush to dust off the excess powder. This is going to prevent them getting that clear bubble look. So here they are before filing and shaping. You can see they have a nice even coverage, and the liquids and powder were a dream to work with, which makes application easier. So now it's time to activate. So I'm gonna apply a very generous layer of this to all of the nails. I love that she scented the activator. I think it smells kind of like vanilla or cupcakes, but it smells kind of sweet and it's not harsh at all. It's a nice little touch. So tip number 5 is going to be getting these babies into shape. So how I keep them from getting too bulky or too thick is going to be shaping. So I love this Makartt nail file. It's a 100/180 grit. So I'm using the 180 grit around my free edge just to make sure I get my rounded shape back. And then I'm going to go around my sidewall area. So I'm gonna focus it and angle it right here at my sidewall. That is so I cut down on the bulk and I don't have that ridge around my cuticle area. So with the 180 grit side, I angle my nail file to only focus around my sidewall area. So that is where the skin and the nail meet here on the side. You can see my file markings on where I'm focusing. This is where I'm trying to cut down on that thickness in that area. And now I go around my cuticle area, also angling it so that I'm not cutting into my skin, not cutting into my natural nail, but still getting the bulk of the dip powder down in that area. I don't want a ridge and I don't want it too thick on my sidewall or cuticle. You can see right here exactly where I have filed so that I keep the strength on the center of my nail. Now I'm just going around my other sidewall area doing the same steps, and then when I'm happy with it, I run it across the entire top surface of the nail. I'm not doing this to cut on bulk, I'm just doing it to make sure I have an even surface before I go in to buff the nail. Now with my buffing block, I'm just going to smooth out the entire top surface. I also like to run this along the sidewall and my cuticle area. That will help smooth out that line before we go in for our top coat. So I finish up the rest off camera and now I'm going in for my second layer of activator. We let this dry for about 2 minutes before top coat. Please feel free to comment below if you have any tips or tricks or things that you want to add to this topic. And if you have anything that's been frustrating you or issues, let me know so I can cover that in my next do's and don'ts episode. So now that they're dry, I'm just cleansing them with a dry napkin, making sure I remove any excess activator residue. So now I'm going to go in with my top coat. So I do a few quick strokes on the nail. This does not have to be perfect whatsoever. It's just a few quick strokes and then we're going to let them dry. This top coat dried super fast, which I really appreciate because I was able to just move on and do that second layer almost instantly. So going in for my second layer, I get to be a little bit more precise. I'm moving slower, making sure I'm more detailed, getting to those sidewalls, and really capping off my free edge area. I will say when it comes to having thick dip powder nails, sometimes you guys, it can be us, it could be user error, and sometimes it could just be that you don't jive with those products. So if you feel like you're at your wit's end and you've tried everything, you've tried pouring over, you've tried removing a lot of the powder, you've tried removing a lot of the liquid, maybe it's time to explore other brands and options. As you can see, this one was such a breeze to use. It was my first time using it and they turned out beautifully, and that has a lot to do with quality of the product, with the liquids, with the powders. So don't be afraid to explore other options as well. So here is the finished product. Big shout out and thank you to today's video sponsor, Dip Nailed It. I had so much fun using her products. The liquids were a breeze to use. Y'all know where I stand on those rounded brushes, and the powders are so cute and unique. I love that they glow and they glow so bright. So be sure to check her out if you're in the market to try out some more new brands, because this one, y'all, it's a good one. And thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope that you found it helpful. Feel free to leave any issues that you're having with dip powder manicures below. And all of my experts out there who watch, please share some more tips and tricks if you have any for our new beginners in our community. Thank y'all so much for being here. I hope you have an amazing day, and I will see you in the next episode.